Hello, welcome to the Chunky Hand Knit Crop Jacket tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to focus on creating this medium-sized crop jacket. To complete this jacket, you're going to need 3 skeins of Bernay Big Blanket yarn in gold and 1 skein of Bernay Big Blanket yarn in caramel splash. You'll also need a tape measure, a large eye needle, a pair of scissors, a lighter, stitch markers, worsted weight yarn, and some chunky waste yarn. All right, so now that we have everything that we need, let's make this jacket.
Welcome. Today we are going to be knitting this chunky hand knit cropped jacket. So we're going to start off with chaining 9. So we're going to wrap the yarn around our 2 fingers and pull up a loop like this. And we got our first chain. And then we're going to make 8 more. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's 8. So we should have 9 chains all together. So let me just count that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Beautiful. All right. So now we are going to do our first row. So all you're going to do is our last chain, which is your 9th chain. That's going to be the first loop in our first row. We're going to go into the next stitch right here and just pull up a loop. So try and make sure that your loops are uniform. So they're the same size as the stitch beside it or the loop beside it. So like I said, we're going to do about 2 finger holes wide for our holes. So should be about that size. So we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we have completed our first row. So now for the second row, or going forward, what we're going to do is skip the first stitch. We're not going to knit the first stitch. We're just going to start going into the second stitch like this. And we have completed our second row. So now I'm going to show you the joining technique. So I'm going to cut the piece. All right, so I've cut that piece. I'm also going to cut the edge of this piece just so I can see the place that I want a little bit clearer. So what we're looking for is the very middle of of where the yarn joins. So this one little plastic piece here connects all of the yarn here. So I'm going to take that side. I've found that side. I'm going to unknit that one, and I'm going to find the one on this side as well. A lot of people just do just one side. They burn one side. That's what we're going to do. We're going to burn our ends together. But I like to do both sides just to be more secure. So what we're going to do is focus on that little piece on the inside there. Try not to burn the outer parts because those will leave hard. It will get hard against the skin. So we try not to do that. Try not to burn around. We just focus on that little part on the inside. So now I got this one going, and we smush them together like that. Make sure to keep your fingers far away from them for a few seconds, and then you can mash them together like this. Just make sure that they're connected, and you can also rub them between your palms. And it's a pretty secure connection. Let's take off the little excess here, and then you keep going. That's it. So moving on, continue knitting, skipping the first loop. I'll continue knitting until we get to the end of row. All right. Okay, so we've reached the end of row 13. We're going to be starting row 14. So for this row, we're going to do just a little bit different here. We are going to make the first 4 stitches a little bit bigger because these 4 stitches we're going to be using to bind off for the neckline. And the last 4 stitches we're going to be used to seam the arm. And we just want to make those a little bit smaller so that there's not a big hole or big spaces when we seam the shoulders. All right, so we're going to put a loop in the first stitch for this row. Make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to put a loop a little bit bigger in the next. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then, just so we know where we're at, we can use our waste yarn. You can even use a different color. So I'm going to use this to hold our stitches in place. And we can also use this waste yarn. This is the side of the neckline, the left side, and this is the side of the neckline. And then we're going to do 4 smaller loops here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can put some waste yarn in here to hold these stitches as well. And there we go. So now we're going to be moving on to do the right side. Now the right side is going to be the exact same that we've done
for the left side panel, the left side front panel. So I will meet you at the end of row 13 for that one. So here I've done one of my favorite things and forgotten to turn on my mic. But basically I was just saying for the end of this row, just cut 36 inches for the tail, which we're going to use to sew up the shoulders. All right, so we have finished our right front panel. I've attached some waste yarn to show where we are going to be binding off. So we know that these these four loops are going to be our bind off loops, and these four are going to be our seaming loops where we're going to attach the shoulder piece to. I also have attached a different color yarn here so that it makes it easier for us to see how the stitches are forming when we do the shoulder seam. All right, so now we know that these four stitches here, or these four loops here, they're going to be smaller, these four holes. So we're going to go 1, 2, and this is going to be one of the rows where we do knit the first stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, a little bit smaller, and waste yarn here. Okay. And then these ones are going to be a little bit bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this side is going to be just a bit shorter. We'll see how this ties in later on in our work. All right, so now we finished both the front panels. Now it's on to the back. All right, so I have pushed on a little bit from the back. We have done 15 chains at the bottom and then gone back and forth. So we're now here at row 13. And what I like to do is I like to mark the first 4 stitches based on the pattern. The first 4 loops, I like to mark it off because right now what we're going to do is add our short row. So the short row is just used to even up the piece so that it falls on the body properly. So the front is not hanging lower than the back. So that's why we're going to add a short row to the back. So in order for us to add one row, we're going to take different yarn, so not the yarn that we are currently using. And again, I've also added different color at the end of this yarn so that we can tell the difference when we seam up the shoulder. So we're going to take yarn from a different skein, going to count over to the middle 6 loops and insert our loop through that loop, as you see, and tuck our yarn in and under. So we've done our first loop of the short row, and then we're going to go across to our second one, third, fourth, fifth, and our 6th one. And then we're going to tuck our yarn under there through that loop, and we have completed our short row. Now that we finished our short row, we can turn our piece over and weave in these ends. So I usually put them on a diagonal so they don't show up on the other side, but just like this, and that's it. So it's looking good back here, and then you also do that for the other side. Now we're going to complete our top row, and as you see, as I said, I've attached a different color for that one. So I'm going to do our first loop. Sorry that you can't see that one. And then our second, third, fourth, and we're just going to knit across like normal. We're not going to be concerned about our short row. I had attached markers in there, so I was just taking those out. So we just continue across the row like normal. At the end of this row, we're going to leave about a 3-foot tail so that we have enough yarn to sew up the shoulders. I've done it in a different color, as I said, and we will see you at shoulder seaming time. All right, so now we are getting ready to join the back to the front. As you can see, this is front, this is back, and we have our whole jamboree of different color yarn, looking like a hot mess, but it's all right. It will help us see clearly what we're doing. Okay, so first we're going to remove the waste yarn from the stitches that we're going to sew together. So we'll take these 2 sides out. Like I said, this is the front, this is the back. We have our yarn coming out of the back side here, as you can see. So this is a different color. Normally this would all be the same color. So what we're going to do first is the yarn that is coming out of the back side, we're going to put it through in the hole on this side and gently pull it through, holding on to the loop there. And that's our first one. Now we're going to go back through the other hole on the other side, pull it through here. Then we're going to take the yarn and go down into the same stitch on the other side. Okay, and there is our first join. Okay, next we're going to go to the stitch over here, put it through like this,
Then take the yarn and put it through the first stitch going down like this. Take the yarn, put it up into here, into the next stitch on that side. Then we're going down into this next stitch over here. Over here. And over. Down into here. And over. Down over on this side. Over. And down. All right, so we have completed the seam on this side. Okay, not sure if you can see exactly how the yarn is going, just like that. And then we'll do the other side. I'm going to take out all of these beautiful stitches here and make it all the same color so I don't look like Frankenstein's monster, but I just wanted you to see how exactly it works. If you need to, just go back and review. You'll definitely get the hang of it. See you on the other side. All right, so now we're going to work on the other side and take out our waste yarn over here. Okay, we put our right sides facing each other, our loops facing each other. Okay, I'm going to take our yarn here. We're just going to do it again with our main color on both sides. So we're going to take our yarn, put it through the opposite loop on the opposite side, pull it through, all the way through, and then put it through into the original hole that we just came out of, the original loop, and then take the yarn and put it down into the loop on the other side. Here, and this is going to be our middle seam area. Okay, so then we're going to go to the next side, put it down into the first loop, then over, then down, over, down. All right, so we finished the side. This is basically what it looks like. So it's all blending in together. We have no big hump on the underside. It's all also blending in together. So that's one of the reasons why I like this type of seam for the shoulder area, especially with this bulky yarn. Okay, so now we are going to work on our neckline. So we have the left side, right side, and the back all connected. So we're going to remove our waste yarn around the neckline. And we're going to start binding off going towards this direction because we want to end on this side with this loose piece right here. So we're just going to take our yarn, we're going to bind off like this. We're going to take this loop, make sure your loops are facing the right way. Just take this loop, put it through. Take this one, put it through the next one, take this one, put it through the next one. Now when you come here, so we're going to turn our work around like this. When you come here, there's a big gap between this one and this one. So what I do is the yarn that we used to seam our shoulders, I create a loop here on this side, put one up and through here to fill in that gap. And then I put one on the back side, on this side, on the back end, and put it right here wherever you see that gap to fill up on this side. And then I keep going. Turn the work. Okay, so when you get to this side, same thing happens. Obviously not using this piece, we're going to use this from this side, from this shoulder seam that we used to take up one piece on this side, on the back end, one loop here, and one loop on the front. Okay, and continue binding off. Made it all the way around. I'm going to pull that one through, and we're going to tie this in a little later on. But now we have bound off our neckline and it looks great. So we will have 17 stitches to attach our hood to. All right. Okay, so let's move on. Let's tie in or weave in our pieces that we used for the shoulder seam, as well as adding our two loops on each side. So just don't forget to weave it in again on the diagonal. Here's one on this side, and then I have a shorter one over on the other side. Very, very small. Usually it should be longer. Just weave it in over here on this side. Don't forget, if it's not looking good on the inside, it's not going to look good on the outside either. Keep that in mind. You don't want things popping out all over the place. All right? All right, so I've already gone through and created the hood. I know it doesn't look like a hood right now, but this is going to be our hood. So what you do is you begin with about 36 inches of a tail, because this is the yarn we're going to use to attach the hood to the jacket. I've gone across 17 chains, 14 rows, and we're ending on our right side. And then I leave about 3 lengths of yarn to sew up the hood after we've attached it to the jacket. So if you fold it in half, I guess this you can see it a little bit more clearly, the hood. So we're going to sew up the top like we did the shoulder seam. So there is our hood. All right, so we're at the front part of our jacket. So what I do now is I fold my sweater like this, and I make sure that the bottom ends are connected, like they're even. Pull it up. Now I see, oh, there's the shoulder seam. And then I find the space here at the top. So I know now that that is the middle. That's the part where I want to put my middle stitch. We're going to be attaching our sleeves in these spaces here. So I'm going to count 1, 2, and I have my hand on both sides, 3, 4, 5. And I'm making sure that when I put them in here, the bottoms are still going to be matching up. So then I put my stitch markers here, one on this side and one on this side. So then it should look something like this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then our middle stitch here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the other side. So altogether, we are going to be adding 11 loops on this one side. All right, so to attach, we're going to have a loop right here, just like this, and pull it through that hole. And there's our first loop. And then we go along the row here. And that's it. And then we're going to start our second row. And we keep going until we get to row 16. Meet you there. Also, just like with all the other parts that we've done throughout the jacket, we're going to be skipping the first stitch of each row for the sleeves as well. Okay, so we made it to row 16, so now we're going to bind off row 16. Because we're not using elastic, just like with the waistline, the foundation row, we are going to bind off tightly here just to gather the bottom. So we're going to take the 2 stitches at the end, bring a loop through that, and just tightly bind off across the row, just like that. We're not leaving any major spaces, we're not leaving extra yarn, we're just going across and binding off, just like that. Okay, till we get to the end. Okay, so we're at the end, we're going to cut off a little piece, cut off right about here. And that's it for now. We're going to attach this together a little later on, but we have finished attaching our first sleeve. So please just do the same thing for the other side, and then we will do my favorite part in the whole entire world, which is seaming up the sides. Best part ever. Loving it. Okay, see you guys there. Okay, here we are at my most favorite part in the entire world. I have placed my piece like this. This is the front and the back. This is the side seam where we're going to be stitching up. We're going to be stitching up using the mattress stitch. So I have my pieces facing me like this. Here is the shoulder, the arm. And look, our waist yarn that we use for the front panels, we're using it again to help keep our arm in place. Okay, we have our 2 inside markers here where we attached our arms to the piece. This will guide us as well, so we keep everything even and straight. So what we need to do first is take 3 lengths of yarn
So I use the thin worsted waste yarn to seam the pieces because it's easier and it's better than having the big bulky yarn for the seam, and it also lasts a long, long time. So I take 1, 2, 3, the length that I want, and then I double it up, cut it, and then I thread my needle. Okay, there we go, the darning needle, yarn needle, whatever you want to call it. And then we will begin. But first we're going to do a figure 8 at the bottom. This anchors your pieces together. So let's do the figure 8. So we're going to start on this side first. We're going up into here, went all the way through. We're going to leave a little piece here at the bottom. Then we're going to go to the other side and go up over here. Then we're going to go back over to the other side where we had come from and go up again into that stitch. So this is what they call a figure 8. It looks like a figure 8 from the bottom. It does. Okay, and then after we do that, we're going to go back over here onto this side to start stitching up the side. So we are going to be using this column and this column to seam our sides. And thankfully, because this is so short, we don't have to do a lot. So we're going to go up through here, under these 2 bars right here. Pull our yarn through. And when we do the mattress stitch, that's why I'm using a completely different color yarn. You do not see it. It melds into your piece. So that's why it doesn't really matter what color you use. You can use whatever color you want, but I'm just showing you that once we finish the mattress stitch, you will not be able to see the yarn. Okay, so I've put it through on this side, and now we're going to come through over here under these 2 bars on this side. Okay, then we're going to go back over on this side from the hole we had just come through and go up and through under these 2 bars. Do the same thing over here. And then up and through on this side. And up and through on this side. Okay, so now we can pull it. And look at that. We've done it. We've come to the top. Now, what I do is I do 1 more stitch up here. Now that we're getting to the arm portion. 1 more join here, up under here. And then up under here. And then I tie off. I'm going to go underneath our last stitch that we did, make a knot, try to make it as tight as possible, and make another knot. Okay, so now we have done our seam here. We're looking good. We're going to turn our piece around and work on seaming the arm. Okay, so now we're here at the bottom. We're going to do the exact same thing, except that we are going to be using this row as opposed to this row. So the reason why I'm using this row for the seam is because I'd like to reduce the bulk. And here we go. So we're going to start here on this place right here. Yes, I should let you see that. That would help. Okay, we're going under here. Leave a little bit going under the next one. And we're going back under here again. And you can see the figure 8 quite clearly here. Okay. And then we are going back into here and underneath our first stitch. So like I said, this is called the salvage row. This is the row that normally we don't knit or seam into, but we're going to do it here today. Okay, so then we're going to go under this side. Back over here. Under this. Just keep going up and through that first row till we get to our waste yarn that we've used to attach. Okay, and we're going to pull it just to see where we're at. Seem to be on point. Now, if you notice that, oh, it's off a little bit like that, what you would do is go under 2 bars instead of 1 bar on this side so that it evens out. But so far, we're so good. So now we can take this waste yarn out and keep on going up. So I'll see you at the top. All right, we've made it to the top. I've pulled my yarn. So you see, lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, so we're going to take this waste yarn out. Thanks for helping me hold my space. We're going to go up and under on this side
up and under over here. Oh, okay, so we just have to find our way. So this is the yarn from the other side. I'm going to wind around here, and then I'm going to tie my knot up in here. All right, so I'm going to pull it through there. Then I'm going to wind it around the first place that we were at, make a knot, then make another knot. Then I'm going to cut it. Tuck that in there. And there we go. We've done the seam. Okay, so now this is the inside. Show you here. So this is our inside seam here. So these are the two bars that we've attached. This is our arm portion that we've attached. And see here, there's less bulk here because we only have one bar, as you can see. Okay, so we're going to remove our markers because we don't want those, do we? Remove our markers. And then when we're done, we're just going to weave in our yarn here. So we don't want that hanging out. So we can do that near the end. We're just going to do the other side now. All right, before we get to the other side, here I'm just demonstrating how to tie our sleeves or weave in our sleeve portion to the jacket portion or the garment. So we just slip it in through there, slip it in through here, and just tuck it in. That's all you have to do just to like completely secure the sleeve. And there you go. Don't forget to remove your markers. Well, just the middle marker because we're going to still need the end markers when we're weaving up the sides. All right, here we are going to continue tying up loose ends. So this portion right here, yes, let me pick off any loose yarn here. I'm going to be tying up these two here that will be hanging out. So what I like to do is just do another false stitch at the bottom with this little piece of yarn here that we had from the beginning of our work. Okay, so get that piece out of there. So I'm going to go up through the last stitch, over onto the next stitch, and then go back again into the middle of that stitch. And that's my false stitch, which I love to create, but seem to have a little problem there. Okay, and then I take that piece, tuck it into the mattress stitch section that we just did, and just try and weave it in there. And there we got that piece. So now we're going to move on to our string there. So as difficult as this seems, because all I probably needed to have done was just get a crochet hook, but I guess I didn't want to do that. So all I do is just weave that again back and forth through the same area that we did the mattress stitch. That's it. The best way to do that is just use a crochet hook to pull it through. It will be a lot easier. Okay, and that's it for that. All right, to tie off this one, you can take this up through here, try and create a false stitch like this, then weave it through around there. Try to make it look as nice as possible. I also hate this part here because I just want it to, tie off nicely and not stick out like this, but it's what we got to work with. So we tie it in as best as possible. Okay, and there's also, I've heard that there's a yarn glue that you can use just to, tie it in or glue it down so that it doesn't come out at all, ever. So you can get some of that too for ends like this. I don't like to cut it because, once you cut it, then that means it's going to start popping out everywhere else. But you can use yarn glue to tie it in just to make sure it doesn't pop out. So this is it for that end that you can do. All right, for the sleeve, the little piece that we left out here, you can just go in through that hole there, make a false stitch, bring it back through on the inside, and then we just weave those through on the inside, just like we did at the bottom half. Just make sure you can't see it and you're good to go. All right, so now we are going to add our hood. I know this is just a jumble of stuff right here. So just so you see where we're at, we are now at the neckline portion where we have created our neckline with the bind off. We're going to start on the side that does not have that end stitch out there. We're going to start on this side. We're going to take our hood and line it up with the end here. So we want two loops like this. See how I'm taking these two as we go along? We don't want just this loop. We want to have a secure holding, so we're going to use two loops. So we're going to take that piece of yarn that we had at the beginning, and we're going to put it under the first stitch, so the first turning stitch right here. This one is the one that's going down. This is the one that's going across. Pull it through. And then I'm going to pull it through again.
I'm going to go along to the next stitch, over and under, and the next one. And I thought I had tried sewing the hood on. Believe it or not, this seems to be the best way to reduce bulk, and it just looks cleaner for some reason. And the hood just works better this way. So let me just stick with this. Okay, so we just continue on until we get to the end stitches, and I'll see you guys there. Just keep on going. All right, so it's loose ends time again. So we have the end from the end of our jacket, and we also have the end from the hood that we need to weave in. So this is what I usually do. So for that, the section here, I'm just gonna put that aside for now. So we're gonna try and make the hood look as neat as possible. That's always the goal. So what I try and do is do the false stitch with that little piece that's left out. Just like we've done on the sleeves and the end of the jacket, false stitch for me works and makes the day. So I put it up through the hood stitch, take it around, if we can get it through there, come on, and then down through the stitch on the jacket. And then obviously we then we weave it in. I like to weave it in around that hood area where we've attached the hood because I find the stitches tighter, and because this is a shorter piece of yarn, it usually stays in place. So I tie that up there. And we're done. Now to tie up the piece that we've used to attach the hood, I usually like to just include it in the jacket portion, weave it down the jacket, and then we just cut the excess. And that's it. And there you have it. We have attached our hood onto our jacket. Voila. All right, so now we are going to sew up the top of our hood. We are going to do it exactly like we did with our seaming our shoulders, that same stitch, or that same technique, I should say. So we're going to go back and forth from one side to the other and make our seamless seam. All right, now that we have finished seaming up the hood, we're going to take the yarn through the back of the hood, so on the inside, okay, and we just want to secure it. So we are going to take it around the back stitch, our last stitch there. Take it around again because we're going to make a little knot just to secure it, and then cut a little bit off, well, cut that much off there, and then weave it into the top of the hood. Now we got to double check that everything looks good on the inside, everything's tied up, and we are done.
Hope you enjoyed the Kamani Creations Chunky Head Knit Crop Jacket. Please check out our store on Etsy for more patterns. Thank you. See you soon.